Welcome to another daily database insight. In this video, we're going to try to insert data from one table to the next. So I went ahead and created this table here called Human Resources underscore Department, and I'm going to attempt to insert data from another different table called Human Resources Schema dot Department. So let's try this. So when we run it, it's going to fail. And the reason it's going to fail is what we're going to discuss today: the identity column. So a table can have a single identity column, not more than one identity column in a table. An identity column or a sequence or a GUID data type, those are going to form your surrogate keys, and those help with defining a unique data into a specific column that can act as a primary key. Remember, primary key needs to be very unique. So that is the reason why people use identity columns. And when you have an identity column on a table and it is turned and it is pretty much on the table, it's not going to allow you to explicitly insert values to that column. And that brings us to why we need to specify the identity insert on that table, so that it allows that table to insert specific values onto the column of that table. So pretty much an identity insert is a session level setting that controls whether any explicit values could be inserted into an identity column of a specific table. So you have to turn the identity insert on the table. So to see what the column really is, you can script the table like what I have over here. You can see the identity department, the department ID of data type smallint has an identity column with a seed of 1 and an increment of 1. The other way to look at this is by using the sp help on that table. Execute it. There is this column here that talks about the identity column. It says the department ID is the identity is the column that has the identity feature. It has a seed of 1 and an increment of 1. And so to allow this table to accept explicit values on that column, we're going to set the identity insert of this table. We're going to set it on. So the first thing here is to set this on. So we have set the identity insert on. Then the next part is to insert the data, which allows us now to insert the data. And then the last part is we're going to turn that identity insert off, so that we cannot insert again explicit values on that column again. So you turn it off. Now if I would go back here and try to insert that data again, I would experience the same error. So that is how you navigate around identity columns, and you always have to set the identity insert on the table to allow you to insert the data. And once you're finished inserting the data, the explicit value on the identity column, then you need to always set it off so that it continues to increment by itself in the event that your application is only going to be inserting the rest of the data that do not insert explicit value to the department ID. Like for instance, let me show you here. If I was to insert data and then I was to make sure that I'm not going to specify the department ID. So all I'm just going to be inserting is a name, which could be Jeff Bezos, and then the group name could be Amazon, and then the modified date getDate. So if I was to just insert this data, then it will go in as long as I am not explicitly specifying the identity column. So now that we've inserted all that good stuff, if I just select from this table, you can see here we have the name Jeff Bezos, the group name Amazon, and the date and time. But at this point, I am just going to delete that data because it doesn't make sense on that table. But just for demonstration purposes, that is how you work with identity columns and identity insert. If you find this information valuable and you need more, if you have any more questions, please drop a chat. If you know anybody else who needs to understand more of this, you must share with them this video. So I am going to just delete from that where DepartmentID equals 17, just to delete the single record that I need. So if I was to check it again, it's no longer there. Thank you and have a good night.